Kahalal Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah Kwadash. I'll start off first by saying Shalom and double honors to the apostles of GMS who continue to rule and lead us through the Spirit, and also Shalom to the Akim and Akwat that's still in the truth in the four corners of the globe. Yasad from Trinidad here. Just reading this article, it shows you how things can change quickly. America was so-called named, the land of the free. People should go up there for the American dream. I wonder if this is a dream or a nightmare. So reading here, Trump is calling protesters who disagree with him terrorists. That puts him in the company of the world's autocrats. Right? Heavily armed, unidentifiable security agents dressed in camouflage have been snatching anti-racism protesters off the streets of Portland, Oregon, and bundling them into unmarked cars with no clear justification. They are scenes you might expect to see in authoritarian countries, not in America. Yes, land of the free, my ass. All those things was a big veil over your eyes, People running across there and saying live the American dream, but all you did was basically slave to build America to where it is. When you think you have a say, when you think you are free, you see this all how they control your mind. By controlling your mind, they control you. Right? Reading on here, it turns out that among the hodgepodge of parliamentary style officers wearing no name badges were many from the Department of Homeland Security, established after 9/11 primarily to deal with terrorism. More specifically, the officers were from the Department of Customs and Border Protection Agency, which is supposed to safeguard America's borders from the dangerous people and materials. U.S. President Trump has repeatedly branded anti-racism protesters in the country as terrorists, and his promise to surge his parliamentary-style units from the Portland to other Democrat-run cities in coming weeks shows he is willing to employ the repressive tactics used by autocrats to vilify those who challenge them. And I remember when Hong Kong last year had their problem with their people, and they was gonna handle it in a certain way. Right? Trump had jumped up and said, "No, don't use no military. They're citizens. They're people." Same person that know it happened to him, he is using military tactics on them. Right? So all this is to show 2 Ezra 15, beside the nation against the nation and stuff in Mark 13, this is also uprising of the people, uproars, right? Same time this is happening, the whole world, the weather is changed, and there's hurricanes and storms all over. And while this is happening, there's nation against nation happening. There's China against India, there's Russia going up against this country, and there's things setting up in the sky and 5G related thing, and then there's the coronavirus. Then there's Venezuela trying to get back the gold from England, who seized it because they don't approve of that leader and who was voted in, and they want to choose our next leader, and all these things are happening because this is the time. This is the time, right? All these things building up to a crescendo, to a peak, to a point where there's total chaos worldwide, right? That, and like in this case, definitely for the military had to come out and for them to, if they want to get back to America the way how they had it last year, let us say last year, they're going to have to bring on military, right? Which is what already started here. And they're also going to have to impose martial law. And then eventually tying that together with forced vaccination and force of the chip, which is the mark of the beast. You see, everything is leading up to one thing. So all the prophecies, this is 2020, year the prophecy is kicking off. Everything is going on, see, and it's speeding up quickly, for the elect's sake. Right. In a letter, Justice, Homeland Security Department, Oregon, Congress, right. These tactics include deploying federal agents without identifying insignia in an apparent effort to evade transparency and accountability, snatching people off the street with no apparent reason for apprehension, and using potentially deadly munitions to harm peaceful protesters. Peaceful protesters, right? These actions are out of control. They are more reflective of tactics of a government led by a dictator, not from the government of a constitutional democratic republic, right? So just more of a dictator. They so against Maduro, they so against King Jong, but they're not any different. They're doing the same thing. All they want to do, right, is to pretend that they're giving you a freedom, giving you rights, giving you things, but they're the same thing. Because at the end of the day, Esau is still in charge of this world, and Esau is known as the wicked. So all these things were just a veil over the eye. Right? In Egypt, where the anti-government protesters are essentially banned and forced, the appearances are not uncommon. Right? I talk about Egypt. We know America is the modern day Egypt, not the physical Egypt. Thousands of people were detained at rare demonstrations last year for President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi's resignation. Rights group Amnesty International said more than 100 detained were under the age of 17, dozens of whom face charges of being members of terrorist organization. In Turkey, President Tayyip Erdogan openly describes anti-government protesters as terrorists, and many have been jailed under anti-terror laws, along with journalists, academics, writers. So you see, there's no difference. There's no difference altogether. It's just America just cover their so-called democratic system in a camouflage paint, but underneath that paint is the same dictatorship. Right? I look at this mentioned Hong Kong, and earlier this month in Hong Kong, a 23-year-old pro-democracy protesters became the first person to be prosecuted under China's new national security law, widely seen as a way of Beijing to seize powers from the semi-autonomous city. Tong Yong Kit was charged with inciting secession and terrorist activities under the law, accused of ramming his motorbike into a group of police officers. Right? And they're showing you things happening all over the world. This is really the end. And if you can't see this end, then sorry to say, you are going to be destroyed. You're going to be destruction. You're going to take that chip, which is the mark of the beast. Right. China also uses this counterterrorism drive well beyond protest. It has been used in a sensationalist movement and bouts to political violence in the autonomous Xinjiang region to justify the detention of more than 1 million people from Muslim minority groups in the re-education camps, according to estimates by the U.S. State Department and several human rights. It was easy to dismiss the U.S. president shouting terrorists as Trump being just Trump, but this calls for designating Antifa a terrorist organization, shows he had appetite for new counterterrorism laws to quell dissenting voices. Trump has blamed Antifa, short for anti-fascist, a loosely based movement with no formal leader or headquarters, for acts of violence amid largely peaceful protests. There is no legal instrument in the U.S. to designate wholly domestic groups as terrorist organizations, yet Trump continues to insist he will have the group outlawed. Who's a terrorist? Anti-terror laws have been problematic in many parts of the world, and issues of the step the fact that there is no agreed international definition of what a terrorist is. In Turkey, academic and rights activists seen as supportive of President Erdogan's rival in exile, Fethullah Gulen, have been jailed under terrorism laws. In Russia, a journalist critical of the country's lack of civil freedoms was recently convicted of justifying terrorism laws. After 9/11 attacks, the UN Secretary passed a resolution urging its member states to devise and update laws to adequately address terrorism, but they left it to individual countries to define terrorism. So when you leave that little you could turn that to anything you want, and then sort of look at people. Right here in Trinidad, they have passed a law called what? The anti-gang law, but there's no direct specification. They could pick you up and say, hey, you are a gang member, and hold you, and you have nothing you could do about it. What make you really feel that this is the kingdom? This could never be the kingdom. This is really Esau's world. You're still into slavery, but not bounded by chains and whips. Your mental slavery, thinking that you're free. But now you get to realize when you're not really free. They could take you, take your land, take all the properties, and seize everything you have at any time that they want. Right? I know this thing goes on and on, but I don't want to stretch it too long. So with that, I want to say shalom until the next time.